All right, let's dive deep into some war finance.
Yeah.
Specifically, how Britain paid for World War I.
Interesting stuff.
We're really going beyond, like, the battles and the strategies everyone thinks about
Right.
to uncover this hidden financial drama, and all thanks to some newly unearthed archival research.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think what we're about to explore might challenge some assumptions about how wars are funded.
Oh, okay.
This isn't just about raising taxes. We're talking about central banks wielding immense power
Behind the scenes.
behind the scenes, absolutely, and shaping the course of history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this. I know World War I was incredibly expensive. Like, just how much are we talking about here?
Well, just to give you a sense of scale, the UK government spending, it increased 12-fold during the war.
12-fold.
Yeah, 12 times. And the vast majority of that was going to military expenses.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a financial challenge unlike anything they'd ever faced before.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, for Britain then, it wasn't just about winning battles. It was about keeping the money flowing.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially since, well, they were bankrolling the entire Entente, right?
Nicely.
Yeah.
Britain was the wealthiest member of the Entente. So that's the alliance with France and Russia.
Right.
And they were the financial hub of the world at that time.
Oh, wow.
So their strategy relied on a naval blockade, some troop support, but crucially funding their allies.
Right.
And so this meant raising a truly staggering amount of money.
Wow. So, I mean, makes sense. Taxes alone just weren't going to cut it.
Nope.
So how did they try to raise these enormous sums?
Well, they decided to appeal to the public's patriotism.
Okay.
And issue war bonds in 1914.
Oh, okay.
So think of these as loans to the government with a promise of repayment with interest
Right.
after the war. And they even offered what was considered, a pretty generous interest rate at the time.
Okay.
4.1%.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah.
Chance to support your country.
Yeah.
Make some money. Win-win.
Seems like it.
I imagine those bonds just flew off the shelves.
Well, this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. That first bond issue, colossal flop.
What?
Yeah, it was a huge embarrassment for the government. They only managed to raise about a third of their target.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a shock. Like a flop during wartime. You'd think people would be lining up to invest.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But
What went wrong?
well, remember, this was 1914.
Okay.
Investing wasn't as common as it is today. These newly analyzed ledgers, they show that the minimum investment was £100,
Oh, wow.
a significant sum
Yeah.
for most people back then.
Yeah.
Only a small percentage of the population could even afford to participate.
Right.
And of those who could, only about 10% actually chose to invest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there was a real gap between, like, the public perception
Yeah, there was.
and then the financial reality.
Huge gap.
What factors contributed to this reluctance to invest?
Well, it's a combination of things. A lot of wealthy individuals were already invested abroad
Okay.
for higher returns,
Interesting.
which kind of shows a surprising lack of confidence in the war effort.
Really?
Yeah. And the government clearly misjudged the public's appetite for these bonds, even with that patriotic spin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this begs the question, if it was such a public failure, how'd they keep it a secret? I mean, wouldn't everyone have known?
Well, that's where the intrigue really kicks in. The government went to great lengths to cover it up.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Why were they so concerned?
Well, they were fearing damage to morale and future fundraising efforts.
Okay.
So,
But how did they actually handle the unsold bonds? That's a lot of money unaccounted for.
yeah, it is. So this is where the Bank of England enters the picture.
Okay.
They secretly stepped in
Mm-hmm.
and bought up a massive chunk of those unsold bonds.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, using the names of the chief cashier and his deputy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so essentially they bailed out the government.
It sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller. Like
Mhm.
hiding this financial fiasco must have taken a lot of work. Were there any dissenting voices at the time? Like anyone who saw through this charade?
Interestingly, yes, a young economist named John Maynard Keynes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who'd later become a giant in the field, was already raising eyebrows.
Yeah.
He wrote a secret memo to the Treasury describing the bank's actions as a masterful manipulation.
I can see why he'd call it masterful, right? Like it was a clever way to avert a crisis. But I'm curious, why was Keynes concerned? What's the problem with the bank just buying up those bonds?
Well, Keynes was incredibly insightful, even at that early stage of his career.
Okay.
He saw the potential long-term dangers of relying on the central bank to finance the war. He understood that printing money to cover those costs
Yeah.
could lead to inflation, where prices for everything go up and savings lose value.
So while this intervention seemed like a quick fix, Keynes was already thinking about the bigger picture.
Long game.
Yeah, and the potential consequences down the line.
Absolutely. And remember, this was a period when governments were still grappling with the role of central banks.
Yeah.
Keynes was ahead of his time, recognizing the complexities of monetary policy
Right.
and the need for sustainable solutions.
This raises an important point. I mean, Britain was known for its laissez-faire.
Right.
Its free market approach.
Free markets.
Yeah. But suddenly they're controlling industries, restricting imports,
Yeah.
even confiscating foreign investments held by their own citizens.
Wild.
Like that's a dramatic shift.
It certainly is. It was a turning point that would have profound implications for the future. This war-induced financial panic forced Britain to rethink its core economic principles and embrace a much more interventionist stance.
So this seemingly isolated financial flop at the start of World War I
Yeah.
wasn't just a blip on the radar.
No.
It triggered this cascade of consequences, forcing Britain to abandon its cherished economic beliefs
Absolutely.
and foreshadowing the growing power of central banks.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning. This deep dive is about to get even more interesting as we explore the long-term impacts of this hidden financial drama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We left off with Britain facing this massive financial challenge and the Bank of England taking these unprecedented steps to cover up the bond failure.
Yeah, tricky situation.
Yeah. What happened next? Did this secret intervention have any lasting repercussions?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a domino effect.
Oh, okay.
This single event set off a chain reaction that rippled through Britain's economy and even its social fabric.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Walk me through those consequences.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that future war bonds had to offer even higher interest rates
Yeah.
to attract investors. How did that play out for the country?
Imagine being the British government saddled with this enormous war debt and now forced to pay even higher interest on those bonds.
Yeah.
It was a financial strain that wouldn't just disappear overnight.
So it's like digging a deeper hole to climb out of the first one.
Yeah, pretty much.
They needed the money, so they kept issuing bonds, but the higher interest payments just added to their burden.
Exactly.
It sounds like a recipe for trouble.
It was. And remember, all those bonds mature eventually.
Oh, right.
The government had to find the money to repay investors, which led to some difficult decisions about taxes and spending cuts after the war.
Right, and I bet those high interest rates didn't sit well with everyone.
Nope.
Wasn't there a growing sense of resentment toward those who profited from the war?
Oh, you're spot on. It fueled a sense of unfairness.
Okay.
While soldiers were risking their lives on the front lines,
Right.
some were perceived as getting rich off the conflict back home.
Yeah.
This war profiteering debate became a major point of contention.
This whole episode is a stark reminder that war isn't just about battles.
Right.
It has these profound social and economic consequences that linger long after the fighting stops.
Absolutely. And this early intervention by this Bank of England, while seemingly necessary at the time, inadvertently set the stage for its future role.
Oh, okay.
It's a pivotal moment in the evolution of central banking.
Wait, really? How did this one episode connect to the bank's eventual transformation?
Think about it. They stepped in, they manipulated the market, essentially dictated financial policy.
Yeah.
It was a huge departure from their traditional hands-off approach.
Interesting.
This intervention, along with the ongoing challenges of wartime finance, paved the way for a more active, centralized system.
So you're saying this initial bond debacle, with all its secrecy and maneuvering,
Right.
foreshadowed the Bank of England's future as a powerful government-controlled institution.
Precisely. It set a precedent, and just a few decades later, in 1946, the Bank of England was officially nationalized.
Wow.
This solidified its role as the central bank with broad powers over monetary policy, financial stability, and managing government debt, a far cry from its origins.
It's fascinating how this one event, a hidden financial flop, had such a ripple effect.
It really did.
It challenged long-held beliefs about
Mhm.
free markets and government intervention and ultimately shaped the financial landscape we know today.
Absolutely, and it highlights the crucial role that central banks play for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know, their actions can have a profound impact on entire economies, even global financial systems.
We've talked a lot about the financial and the political consequences, but I'm curious about the human side of this story. How did everyday people, how did they experience these economic shifts?
That's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Imagine the anxieties, the uncertainties people faced, the rising cost of living due to inflation, the feeling of injustice when some profited while others sacrificed. It's a story that speaks to the human cost of war.
Beyond the battlefield.
Right.
Beyond the battlefield, yeah.
You know, it makes me wonder about those early investors. Did they buy those bonds purely out of patriotism, or was there an element of self-interest there, hoping to make a profit from a tragic situation?
That's the beauty of historical inquiry, right?
Right.
It reveals the complexities of human motivation.
Right.
It's rarely black and white. Patriotism, self-preservation, financial aspirations, fear, all these factors likely played a role in their decision making.
This entire deep dive is really shifting my perspective on World War One.
Good.
I'm starting to see it not just as a conflict between nations, but as this catalyst for profound social and economic transformations, many of which are still felt today.
That's the power of understanding history, isn't it? It allows us to connect seemingly disparate events,
Yeah.
to see the threads that weave together the tapestry of our present. We've uncovered a secret financial flop,
Yeah.
traced its repercussions through the decades, and seen how it foreshadowed the rise of central banks as we know them. It's been an eye-opening journey, and I'm eager to see where it leads next.
Well, hold on to your hats because we're about to delve even deeper into the lasting legacy of this wartime financial drama. We'll explore how this episode shaped future approaches to war finance and what lessons we can glean for our own time.
It's incredible how a single event, this botched war bond issue, had such a ripple effect.
Yeah.
We've gone from a desperate cover up to the rise of modern central banking.
Yeah.
It's like we've unearthed this entirely new perspective on World War One.
Yeah, and it makes you think, if this one event had such profound consequences,
Yeah.
what other hidden financial dramas have shaped the course of history?
Right.
What skeletons are still lurking in the archives waiting to be discovered?
Exactly. I mean, it underscores how interconnected everything is.
right.
This seemingly isolated financial episode in 1914 has clear parallels to issues we grapple with even today. Government debt, the role of central banks, the balance between free markets and intervention. I mean, these debates continue to resonate.
You hit the nail on the head. Take the whole issue of war profiteering, for example.
Yeah.
It's a moral and economic dilemma that has persisted through the centuries.
Right.
How do you finance a war without creating opportunities for exploitation and unjust enrichment?
It's a tough question, and one that clearly sparked heated debate in Britain during and after World War One.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned that the need for constant borrowing
Yeah.
led to higher interest rates on war bonds.
Right.
Did that exacerbate public concerns about profiteering?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine the resentment felt by those who sacrificed so much during the war, only to see others seemingly profiting from their hardship. This issue of fairness and
Right.
who bears the true cost of war
Right.
became deeply divisive.
It's fascinating how these economic decisions made under duress
Yeah.
can have such profound social and political repercussions.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how did the British government navigate this growing public discontent?
They faced a real balancing act.
Okay.
On one hand, they needed to maintain public support for the war effort, which
Yeah.
meant addressing those concerns about profiteering.
Right.
On the other hand, they needed to keep those funds flowing to finance the war, which sometimes meant making unpopular choices.
So this bond failure wasn't just about money. It was about trust.
Right.
It was about the social contract between government and citizens.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that financial decisions aren't made in a vacuum. They're intertwined with human emotions, perceptions of fairness,
Yeah.
and ultimately political legitimacy.
Precisely. And this episode also underscores the enduring tension between free market principles and government intervention. Britain, with its long tradition of laissez-faire economics, was forced to embrace a more interventionist approach,
Right.
controlling industries and resources in a way they never had before.
It's like they crossed a line and there was no going back.
Yeah.
Did this wartime shift towards a more controlled economy have lasting impacts? Like, did it pave the way for greater government intervention in the decades that followed?
That's a debate that continues to this day.
Oh, wow.
Among economists and historians. Some argue that this wartime intervention laid the groundwork for the welfare state
Okay.
that emerged in Britain after World War II. Others believe that the war simply accelerated trends that were already underway.
Regardless of which side you take, it's clear that this episode challenged fundamental assumptions
Yeah.
about the role of government in the economy,
Mm-hmm.
both in Britain and around the world.
It's a legacy that continues to shape our understanding of the relationship between politics, economics, and society. It's a reminder that times of crisis can lead to profound and often irreversible shifts
Yeah.
in how we think about the world.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Good.
And frankly, a bit unsettling. We often think of history as this distant narrative.
Right.
But this episode brings it right into our present,
Mm-hmm.
forcing us to confront the echoes of the past in our own time.
And that's the power of history, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not just about memorizing dates and names. It's about understanding the forces that have shaped our world and continue to influence our lives. By delving into these hidden stories, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human experience and the enduring challenges we face as a society.
This exploration of Britain's World War I financing
Mm-hmm.
has been a journey through secret maneuvers, economic upheaval, and ultimately a profound shift in thinking. We've uncovered a story that's both fascinating and deeply relevant to the world we live in today.
It's a reminder that even the most seemingly insignificant events can have far-reaching consequences,
Yeah.
and that the choices we make today will inevitably shape the world of tomorrow.
That's it for our deep dive into this hidden chapter of financial history.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey and come away with a fresh perspective on World War I and its enduring legacy.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yep.
and keep those minds engaged. There's always more to discover,
Yeah.
more stories to uncover, and more insights to glean from the rich tapestry of history.